Coming up on the program, it's time for treasure hunting potatoes. We've done some samples, we like what we see. I'm just still not certain if we're gonna get what we want. And we'll talk about when is the actual right time to harvest your beans. All that and more coming up today on the Wisconsin Vegetable Garden.
The Wisconsin Vegetable Gardener is sponsored in part by, for all your non-GMO, heirloom, organic, vegetable, flowers, and herb seeds, visit dollarseed.com. Sioux Growing Supply, located in Wausau, Wisconsin, focusing on certified leaf compost, an excellent amendment for poor soil. With their new garden blend, improving soil structure in clay and sandy soil, great for creating new garden beds. Also available from Sioux's, pre-filled trays and pots with professional potting soil mix or organic rice hull-based potting soil mix. Bag and bulk of certified leaf compost also available. Visit SiouxGrowingSupply.com. Don't poison your soil with municipal water. Attach a body, mind, and soil hose and filter. Free shipping exclusively through the WisconsinVegetableGardener.com. Just click on the body, mind, and soil icon. Authentic Haven brand soil conditioner for the home gardener. Easy to brew, 100% organic. Visit ManureTea.com. Rain Reserve. Reserving your rain, preserving our future. Rain Reserve, manufacturing of rainwater capturing capabilities. Visit rainreserve.com and use coupon code RAIN2016 to save 10% on your total purchase.
Welcome to the Wisconsin Vegetable Gardener. I'm Joy Barrett. It's time to harvest our potatoes. This patch here, this bed here is ready to harvest. We've got red potatoes on that end. We've got fingerling potatoes on this end, as well as we're going to check and dig up our experimental bed where we just planted them in compost and mounded leaves on top of them. Now, we've got another bed over on the other side there that's in a unique situation, and we'll take a look at that right now. So here's another two beds of potatoes. These here were planted at the same time as those were over there that we just looked at. And there's something unique going on with this bed. At the time of irrigation installation, we didn't have as much of the irrigation system as we needed to accomplish watering the entire garden. So this bed was kind of left out of the loop. But we did have some pieces to where we could irrigate above ground in two different sections here. So these cascade about a 3-foot area. And what is unique about this is that the areas that we are watering are still growing as strong as they ever was. And just a few days ago, these were reflowering again. So I'm interested to see what's under the soil. We are not going to touch these potatoes until they die back. That's the time that the potatoes are ready to harvest. In areas that we did not water, like here, these have died back. And this section here, that section down here, where the water was not getting to the potatoes, have died back. They've done their little life cycle. So we're going to leave these two patches alone and see if, because of the excessive water that we're giving them, that we're going to get an abundance of potatoes and compared to what we have here. But we're going to dig these two up in a little bit. Now this bed here is a late variety of potatoes. Not necessarily late, but we waited until the garlic came out of this particular bed in order to plant them because we had no other place for them. In the center, we've got some great white northern beans, hard shell beans that are maturing. And on the sides here, we do have early blush, or prairie blush, and I think King Harold. These are all potatoes that are from Wood Prairie Farms in Bridgewater, Maine. It's a specialty potato farm. They do a lot more than just potatoes, but they're GMO free. They're a big advocate of that. And it's a family owned and operated farm that is being passed down to another generation, to their son and their children. So keep that in mind if you're looking for potatoes or other items. Wood Prairie Farms is the place to go for that. But these will be mature in about another 60 days. But we've got irrigation running on these, and we're going to pump the water to them and see the difference of natural watering versus irrigation watering and see what we have. So let's go back over to our red potatoes and our fingerlings, dig them up, see what we have, and then we're going to dig the potatoes up in our experimental bed, and then we'll come over here and find out how these little sections that have died back are what we got under the soil there. So the tool of choice in a potato digging operation is preferably your hands. If you're in a raised bed and the soil is very a loose tilt, get in there with your hands and go ahead and dig them up. We may not all be in that situation. So the second best tool is a hard tine garden fork, not a hay fork. I've tried that, it doesn't work. A hard tine garden fork. They're specially designed for digging in the soil. This is your next best tool. Now, we've dug some of these up, test trialed some of them, and they are of size. These are from the other bed there I tested. These are the Prairie Blush. These are the reds. Now, we're going to go ahead and dig some of these up and see if the percentage of potato versus, when we planted these, we planted about, we took the potato and cut it in half, and then we had one small potato for 2 eyes, or chicken egg potato size for each plant that we see growing here. So we're just going to take, and here's where a plant is. We're just going to go ahead, and you want to get far enough back that you're not going to pierce the potato. And also, these potatoes have very thin immature skin, so you want to let them cure, but you want to be careful that you're not scratching them because they do not keep well whenever you've damaged these skins. So we're just going to dig this up, see what we have here, try to get under and flip. Well, I didn't get far enough under because the potato plant's still there. All right. All right, what do we have here? Oh, okay, there's one. Now, as soon as you see them, you want to go ahead and move them so you're not scratching them with the fork here. So that was 2 potatoes. Let's see if that's all I've got here, because that's on the test, when we're test digging these, that's what we were getting, was approximately 2 potatoes, nice potatoes per plant. So that appears to be the continual number here. Oh, there's a little small one there. And you do want to, even though this seems small and insignificant in the general harvest of potatoes, you want to go ahead and remove this, because if this is left in the ground, it will put a plant on and grow next year, and take energy away from whatever you're putting in this bed next year. So I'm going to dig a couple more of these up, and we'll kind of see where we're at on the red potatoes, and then we'll go down to the fingerlings. All right, so we've got the red potatoes dug, which was half the bed here, and that's an important tip when you're planting potatoes. Let's say you have 4 or 5 or 6 different varieties of potatoes. Not all potatoes take the same amount of time to reach a mature state. So do it in blocks. Don't decide you're going to do a red, a blue, a white, a red, blue, because each of them is going to mature at a different state. And then if you're wanting to get in there and harvest that one that's ready, you're going to disturb the root system on them other ones. So here's what we got on the red potatoes. Now, we were having about a 2.3 return on our investment. For every half potato we planted, we were getting about 2, sometimes 3 potatoes in return for that, which for us is really, really good. And they're not small potatoes. These are palm-sized potatoes. I got a couple, that one's almost baseball size there. So it's very rewarding for us, because if we would have got a 1 to 2 ratio or 1 to 3 return, and we would have planted, now the potatoes we were planting that had seeds on them was the equivalent about like that. That was half the potato that we would have put in the ground and planted. And if we was getting a return of potatoes like that, this would be a very disappointing harvest. But we're getting return on potatoes that it's all I can do to hold 4 in my hands here. Very large red potatoes. So now we're going to work on the fingerlings here and see if my sample dig was 1 fingerling potato for 7, and we were getting 7 in return. So we're kind of see if that averages holds out as well. Now, to some of you, that might be an incredible harvest. To some of you, that might be a piddly harvest that you giggle at. But for us, that is a very rewarding harvest for the time and effort we've put in to planting these potatoes. Nothing's wrong with them, nothing's bad with them. Good red potatoes from Wood Prairie Farms. So we're going to go ahead and dig the fingerlings here and see what we get on those. Okay, so we got the rest of this bed dug with the fingerlings on this end. Okay, the average wasn't as high as the initial test dig of 7. I think we were probably around 5 fingerlings for every 1 potato we planted. Did scar 1, busted 1 apart. morphed size, different type of, they're not round like you would find in the store. We do have some dense soil here, we do have some rocks in here. So that can be a contributing factor. Now, you want to cure these. You could leave them on the ground out here for an afternoon. That would be about the maximum you want to do, because potatoes do and can change green and they will become toxic. So you could leave them out just to cure them, just to let them dry off a little bit, then bring them inside and cure them that way. So the fingerlings didn't do terrible. The reds were much, much better. Also, the fingerlings were much more susceptible to early blight in our garden than the other potatoes were, and we did try to add cornmeal to the soil to prevent some of that early blight. But the fingerlings did have more of blight, so that might be something we shy away from next year and just go with the more bigger potatoes. So let's go over by the corn and dig up that patch. Now, if you remember and you follow our videos, we planted those very early in the spring at the same time we planted these. Put compost down, heavy fertilizer, and then just mulched them with leaves, straw, shredded paper, whatever we had available, yard waste, dry grass clippings, and let them be. They grew very nice. Now it's time to see if what we've done was a magnificent experiment that came out perfect, or something we never should have thought of before. Okay, so this was our experimental patch. It's about 7 foot, 10 foot, somewhere in that area. And we had just put leaves on top of our potatoes, which should mean it's going to be much easier to harvest them. You can see some of the remnants here. So I'm just going to pull this one up and see what I got. Oh my. Much better, much easier to dig than what we were doing over there. That's just the initial pull up of a plant. These are the same fingerlings that were over in that bed that we just harvested. That's the seed potato there. And I've got, potatoes here, so I'm going to see how easy this might be. Now I got to watch, I got an irrigation system in there. So I'm just going to kind of go through here and find the plants. Now we do have some weeds that have grown up in here, but, oh my, much easier to dig up here. Let's see here. Very unique characteristics of the potatoes. Oh, here's some more. Just easy to, what was that? I saw something there. Maybe I didn't. All right, let's see what else I can dig up here. There's another plant that's right here. Now this is some green here, so we will avoid eating that because that's got some toxic to it. This is the seed potato, so that's not edible. There's a little bit of portion there that's not green that we're going to save. I'm going to get this out of the way. That's part of our irrigation system. Here's some more potatoes. And I'm sure we can just continue to dig and dig and dig and find potatoes here. So let me see what else I can find. And then we'll grade this and see if this was a success or a failure. Okay, so we're just about done with this patch here. I'm sure I'll continue to find potatoes as I rework this, because the intentions are this is going to be quite possibly the garlic bed. But you can see you got your potato, your seed potato there. This is just off 3 plants right here. And you can see the difference in shape here. This was in the ground here. This was in the ground over there. This is what they're supposed to look like. These are deformed because of the soil compaction, rocks, other factors to that. So when it comes to just digging this, making a, all we did was we prepped the soil by removing all the weeds from the bed, going down to native soil, adding 2 bags of certified leaf compost, putting fertilizer on top of that compost, putting your seed potatoes, and then mounding about 1.5 feet of shredded leaves, dry grass clippings, shredded paper, yard waste type of material, covering it and utilizing it as a no-dig method. It works much, much better than digging over there. And plant per plant compared to over there, this was a little bit better than what was over there, and it was a whole lot easier to dig than the ground over there. You just kind of rake the leaves across, or rake the top portion out, and went ahead and pulled the potatoes out without any issue at all. Now, again, we're going to clean this up more as we get ready to plant preferably, probably, most likely garlic in this bed. We'll find a few more potatoes. So no dig method for planting potatoes. I give it a B+. It's obvious, it did work. We did get potatoes. It wasn't a failure. There's some things that we can tweak on a little bit more and make it better. You can use straw on this as well. So far with our potato harvest, I give it an A-, B+. So we've harvested everything that has matured. Behind me, I was able to harvest the equivalent of a half of a row because the purple ones, some of the purple ones were died back. That seemed to be, the purple ones and the red ones seem to be the heaviest producing potatoes. Now, what we have here is probably the equivalent of 20 pounds, 20 to 25 pounds. This is only about half of what we currently have in the ground. We've got about a row here that's still left. You've got 2 rows there of late potatoes, and then there's a little bit on the high end there by the house, which would be the equivalent of a half a row, about 10 foot more here. So we're very, very pleased with the seed potatoes that we got from Wood Prairie Farms, as well as the results here. Again, much rather see a smaller amount of quantity with a larger size mass on them rather than a bunch of little tiny ones. Now, you can take these in and you can store them a bunch of different ways. Pressure can them, freeze them, put them in a dark cupboard or basement that's about 38, 45 degrees at 90% humidity, but not all of us have that condition. So keeping them as long as possible, because you want to keep them out of direct sunlight or warmth, because they will begin to sprout relatively quickly. So with that being said, we're very, very pleased with these. Again, if you have any green portions on them, you don't want to eat them because they are toxic. But a great harvest, very pleased with the harvest and the way that we planted them, the best we've had. So we're in our pole bean patch here, and as Mr. B or Mrs. B or whatever the case is pollinating the flowers. We've got a variety of different stages that beans are in right now. Now, when is the correct time to harvest your beans? Well, it really determines what your intentions are for them. If you're going to save seeds, you don't want to harvest them at all. But also, if you're wanting to save seeds, the plant is going to go into a stage of no more production. It's going to focus all its energy on the beans that are currently on the plant, and then that will slow down the production because it's saved the seeds for the next generation. You've got beans that are in a couple different stages here. You've got, I'm going to harvest this one. And then you've got beans that are very, very immature there. You've got beans that are in a maturer state. And then you've got beans such as this one here that are very bulky. Now, you can harvest these again at any stage. What is occurring here, the longer you wait, because you're thinking, oh, I'll wait for the beans to bulk up and I'll harvest them, we'll get more on the dinner plate or more for canning. Mass-wise, yes, but when you open this up, you're going to have, internally there's a seed, and as you wait longer and longer for your beans to get larger, that bean inside is also getting larger, and is going to be more difficult to chew, to eat, as it gets later on in its state. So it's going to be more difficult to chew. A tender, smaller bean is more key for what we choose to do, and that's for eating as well as preserving. But you can harvest them again at any state that you want. But frequent harvest is the key here, because if you just wait and you kind of wait for everything to get to a really large mature state, your plant's going to really slow down in production because it is waiting, it is focusing all its energy on producing the seed inside of it. And we're looking at a bean that we can eat, not necessarily saving seeds for at the early stages of growth. Thanks for joining us. Join us again next time for more organic gardening and food preserving. I'm Joy Baird, and this has been the Wisconsin Vegetable Gardener.
For more information, please visit thewisconsinvegetablegardener.com.